I think it's about 3,500 horsepower. We should make about 1,000 on boost. Should make right around 1,000 to 1,100 on boost. 1,200 horsepower Supra, 1,080.
The way you drop over 1,000 horsepower figures is very, very known to you, I'd imagine.
1,000 horsepower is the new 500 nowadays. So
you heard it here first. What's up, guys? We are here in Florida with my man Kyle. How are you?
Very good.
He's taking a little bit of time to show us through Titan Motorsports, so we wanted to drop by here while we were on our travels because you guys have done some crazy engine builds over the years, and we know there's going to be some good stuff in there to have a look around.
Supra leaving right there.
There you go. Brand new Supra, just on dry rear tires with a parachute. Just drove out the front gate, so that's yeah, a little hit. So you guys are a little bit unlimited here. You kind of just go for the max. But talk us a little bit about Titan and where it came from, where it started.
Yeah, originally it started off as our owner Nero. He had a Supra back in the 90s. It was essentially like a hobby for him. You know, straight late night street racing, all that kind of fun stuff that typical college kid does, and eventually started just selling parts and growing into the parts business. It just started off selling parts to his friends, and he started growing relationships with all these companies, and it eventually turned into the mass warehouse that we are today. So we've been in this building since 2009 actually. We've been in the building behind us, 25,000 square foot building. Typically it's about, I would say 80% part sales and then 20% shop. We still do a lot of street cars, still do a lot of Supras. I would say we're probably the largest Supra shop in the US, and we're arguably one of the largest 2J shop suppliers in the world. So essentially, we still do a lot of street cars. We're actually getting ready to go to a race this weekend out in Bradenton called Snowbirds for the Copper Supra. I don't think you're going to be able to see the Copper Supra today, unfortunately, because it is loaded up. But yeah, we're still out here racing the Copper Supra. The Copper Supra originally was Nero's personal Supra back in the 90s. So it's the original car that we've had that started with the company, and it's still racing to this day. So it's very cool.
Let's go inside and check out what's inside. We have no idea. You guys are along for the ride. So straight away, it just says what it is on the tin, right? It's just Supras, which are now, I mean, obviously when this started, they weren't as special as they are now. I mean, this kind of happened in the last couple of years where they've just escalated in price and desirability.
Yeah, so they used to be almost like a throwaway car. A lot of people were doing like crazy chassis cars, straight drag cars. You know, they weren't very expensive cars to begin with. When they first came out, they were expensive in the 90s terms. They were like $40,000 new. And then they kind of decreased in value. You were able to pick one up for like 16, 17, 20 grand was the average. Now they're appreciated to six figures. You have some selling for $200,000 for low mile ones. Cars like this one, this is actually a really rare color. It's a Quicksilver 98 car, which is the last year they ever made it. There's only a handful in this color, in this configuration. So this is an original 6B twin turbo car. So, you know, stuff like that. They kind of just, right now you're seeing a lot of restoration builds, I would say. So a lot of guys are trying to get it to either the OEM spec, or they're getting like a really, really nice, clean, you know, shaved engine bay, full overall build versus, you know, you're kind of throwing together street cars. Just because the cars are kind of reaching that value to the people who do want to build them. They really want to, you know, put the money into it and make it a really clean street car.
And then appreciated classic, essentially.
Exactly.
And you guys have quite a few trophies.
Yeah, so we're actually, we actually have the most Wallies in NHRA history for Sport Compact. So we have a little over 30 Wallies altogether throughout the many years that we've been racing, and then various trophies throughout the years. We've actually had quite a few.
This is drag racing, right?
All drag racing, yep. So we've had quite a few pro cars throughout the years. Anything from your normal street cars to full pro mod cars and chassis cars and stuff like that. So
what was the highest horsepower car you guys have built so far?
Anywhere from, I think it's about 3,500 horsepower is what we, probably the peak is what we've done.
3,500 horsepower.
Yeah, exactly. Out of inline six too.
Out of a 2J?
Yeah, 2J. So the car now, the Copper Supra, probably makes right around 2,400 horsepower. It is a stock body Supra, and it's on an X275 tire, so you're limited by tire size and how much power you can put down to the ground. But even then, that car runs 6.4 on the quarter mile without an issue.
6.4.
Yep.
Yeah. So put that in perspective. You know, like 12s, 11s are quite fast.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so,
half that.
you know, you had, you know, running 10s was revolutionary, you know, 10, 15 years ago. Now, 10-second street cars are pretty much the normal. And this is one of our display motors. So
this is what we call in Europe, you know, goals.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone in drifting knows this engine. And
yeah, exactly. It's probably the most iconic motor to this date. There is sort of a drift tax to them now. They are getting quite expensive, especially in the U.S. I don't really know the market in Europe on how much
very expensive.
They're expensive, but you know, they're starting to become to the point where they're getting priced out of existence, I would say. Luckily, you can actually still buy brand new 2Js from the dealership. They just come from with a very, very long lead time. Most people don't care, but yeah, you know, luckily the castings are still readily available. You can still kind of buy them, and all the internals are, you know,
so
pretty
this
available.
engine this is a billet engine.
This is a billet
so this
engine.
is built by you guys. So
Yes.
there's no Toyota part in this. It's pretty much a
Essentially, yeah, exactly.
It's a reimagined 2JZ.
Exactly. So a lot of people, you know, they think it's a OEM casting that we just did in CNC billet, but this actually block has been redesigned. It's based off the 2J platform, but you know, all the sleeves and all that stuff have been redesigned entirely to reinforce it as much as possible to be as efficient and as reliable as possible, especially on consecutive hits and multiple events. So,
What sort of horsepower can you see from these? Like, that's reliable.
we
I know reliable is a hard word to say.
Yeah. I mean, we've used these motors in anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 horsepower cars, and you know, for the Copper Supra, for example, it's on the same motor as last season, and that's with 7-8 events on it and multiple runs, and it's on the same motor. So the motor is actually really reliable in itself. It is a dry block, so it's not a shootable block. However, you know, being a purpose-built block, it's very, very reliable for itself.
And what are you talking, like, say, price-wise for the block and the head on one of these?
So something like this, as is, with the manifold, turbo, dry sump, intake, all that stuff, it's about $80,000, all said and done. It's really not that bad when you start piecing it together and breaking.
You're talking now for like a 2JZ, you're talking nearly $10,000
Yeah, I mean,
just for a stock, and it could have 150,000 miles on it.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, the especially if you have like a USDM long block, they're about $10,000 to $12,000 for the motor, and then if you do like a standard built 3.0 or 3.5 or you know anywhere like that, you're looking about $15,000 to $20,000 on like a long block situation. So they have become quite expensive, more so because the cores have just become kind of hard to get. You know,
this
fast.
thing is a thing of beauty. Well, are we okay to take a walk in and have a look at some of the projects you guys are working on?
Yeah, it's a little messy.
Hey, every workshop's messy.
You know.
That means you're working. Once again, guys, we want to thank one of our partners here at Drift Games, Link ECU, for all of their help over the years. We run them in all of our street cars and our drift cars, and everything you guys see behind us, all those big horsepower builds, Link has something for everybody. So stop running old technology in your cars, check out the full Link ECU range, and get yourself hooked up and smoke your tires, not your engine. I suppose now that the A90 Supra has come out, that's kind of opened up the game a little bit more as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we're actually seeing an influx of A90 builds, more so than the 2J builds. Like I said, the MK4 Supras are kind of hard to come by now, and a lot of people, they're either already built or they're kind of just stowed away in a garage somewhere, you know, collecting dust and collecting money, essentially. They're assets at this point. But you still get, you know, your tastefully done 2J build. So, but yeah, we're seeing a lot more MK5s for sure. They're honestly a great car. As far as like, a lot of people didn't really like them. They had the whole BMW standpoint and all that stuff. But personally, I think they're a great addition to like the Supra family.
Yeah.
I think they do good. I mean, essentially out of the box, you can run 9s and even some cars are running 8s with, you know, very little mods. And you know, they're comfortable cars. They sound good.
Well, I mean, I've always said about the A90 Supra is, you know, the best BMW is a Toyota.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you want a BMW interior rather than a Toyota interior because it's nicer. BMW builds their cars very, very well.
Yeah.
They're used to running high horsepower, higher horsepower than Toyota are in their M3s, M4s, and M5s and stuff. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. No, yeah, essentially, like, I feel like a lot of people, when these cars first came out, they were unsure about them. You know, especially being a B&W partnership car. A lot of people didn't really like them at first, but now that the car's kind of been around and a lot of people have had either experience with it, driven it, or seen it in person even, they kind of come around and actually grown to enjoy the car.
And they're quite popular in the US, right?
Yeah, they're pretty common, and they're starting to get a little bit harder to get. But just because everything right now is harder to get as far as dealership shortages. But as of recently, the newer versions of these cars were able to be tuned because for a while, anything that was built past 2021, you couldn't tune them. So most of these cars were stock up until maybe 2 weeks ago. You can actually start tuning these cars. So you're gonna see a lot more of these cars, and I think to be you know, running like your low 9s or even like time attack or something like that.
And so what's the spec on this particular one?
So this one, we're actually doing a built motor on it. So we're doing a built 3.2 or built 3.0 on this car with a built cylinder head. Already has a built trans on it. This car actually used to be the world's fastest stock turbo car for a while. Ran a 949 on the stock turbo. Stock turbo, stock motor, stock trans. And then he actually wanted to go further into the car. He actually wants to break into the 8s eventually. So he's doing a built motor. He already has the built trans in the car. He has built axles and fuel system and all that stuff. He has everything to go around it. He's doing a Garrett G40 turbo system on the car when it is ready to go. Car should make right around 1,000 to 1,100 on boost, and on nitrous it got 1,300 bucks, 1,300. So.
Okay. And so this is as you would say, this is what the clean build, right?
Yeah, so this is almost like the standard when it comes to the Supra builds now, at least here. So most of the guys here, they kind of want a really clean overall build. It's nothing too crazy going on in the engine bay. This one has a shaved engine bay, and you know the motor is just you know, very, very basic. There's no crazy carbon or anything like that. Honestly, in my opinion, motors like these are the cleanest, where they're just you know, this one's all gloss black, has a precision 7265, I believe, and it is right around a 1,200 horsepower Supra as it sits. So,
and a wild color too. Wild, but,
yeah,
but still kind of maintaining. It's nothing too crazy.
Yeah, the car was originally red. It was stripped down to a bare shell, and it was painted inside and out. So even all the carpet and all that stuff was removed, and it was painted. If you look in the trunk, it was all painted and all that stuff. So you know, there's nothing on this car that is original as far as.
It's so funny because we have a friend that has a Supra, and a couple, you know, there's a couple around, but to see so many in the one place is a bit weird.
No, a lot of people, they come here and they haven't even seen a Supra in person, and then you come here and you see, you know, 10, 11 of them just kind of sitting around. So
we have another one here, which is a little bit more sort of racy.
Yeah, we actually just got this one in pretty recently. We are due to do. I believe it was at a different shop, and it has some finishing up to do. So the
side exit.
Yeah, so there has been some stuff that's been done prior by the owner, and then we're basically going to finish up the car for him.
Oh, cool.
So this one is a built motor. I think it's a G42 Garrett turbo in it. It's JDM car, but it has the V161 in it, the 6-speed. So you know, all said and done, like I said, we just got this one in, so I don't know too much about it. But it should be fun nonetheless. So
cool. So we'll just keep rolling through, I suppose, and see.
Exactly.
So we've got 2 more Mark IVs.
Yep. This one just came back from paint. It is dusty already, but this one just came back from paint. This one's going to do a full build. So it just got a shaved engine bay on it. We're doing brand new seats in the car. This one has a 3.2 bottom end with a built cylinder head. This car should make about 1,000 on boost, and it's getting nitrous and all that stuff. So new brakes, new wheels. Essentially this entire car is going to get done. It actually was a really nice example. It was a low mile, 60,000 mile example, all original, but the owner wanted a little bit something more out of it. So,
and this is an original color.
Original color, yeah.
I've never seen one in this color before.
Yeah. So this one is unfortunately it was left out in the sun for a while by the original owner, but it is a rare color nonetheless. So,
and another A90, which nice, nice carbon extras on it.
Yep.
A little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, exactly. So this one's getting a 3.2 stroker in it with a Garrett G35 1050. So this one should make about 1,000 horsepower on it as well. It's actually gonna be a drag car, you know, minus the wing, but it should, you know, run like a low 9 or even like a high 8-second pass when it's all done. So.
Well, I'm just gonna take a little walk outside. Again, sort of your street modded
So, funny story about this one.
The tires lead me to believe it's definitely doing some driving.
Yeah. This car made, I think it made like 1,080 in 2010. So when it was, it's on a Garrett T88 turbo, and you know, all like the retro mods. Believe it or not, this car was actually owned by one of the employees here back in 2005. And then it got sold off and went through many hands. This is actually painted to match the Copper Supra, our race car. It was kind of like the street version of our race car that we built, you know, 15 years ago. And then over time it passed through many hands, and it actually ended up back here, ironically. So we're actually gonna finish it up. It just has some random things that has to be done. Being a car that's been built 15 years ago, has some updating to do. So new turbo, it's doing, fixing up some of the paint. It has some paint issues on it as well. So this one should be good.
It's just been revealed behind you as this van pulls away. Is this?
So this is our street car, essentially. So
where we come from, this is not a street car. A lot of you would not be able to run a parachute on the back of a street car.
Even in some places in Florida, this is a street car, and the U.S. is not a street car. Luckily, Florida is very lenient on their laws.
So this has like carbon intakes for the lights.
Yeah. So it's an inventory headlight delete.
How's it a street car with the headlights being deleted?
If you don't drive it at night, you're fine. You're perfectly fine. So we actually added like a fake headlight in here, so there is a light in there. If he does get stuck out at night, it does get dark pretty soon here. He's able to drive it on the street. So
it's got a little LED.
Yep.
That tiny light.
It works.
So, I mean, the big giveaway is the tires are just huge on the back, and they've got a bead lock.
Yep. So weld at 77, it's a 305 tire in the rear. But essentially, yeah, it is a street car. I mean, we drive it on the street, we take it to lunch, take it to Cars and Coffee, you know.
Take it to lunch.
Yeah,
do you mind if I open it?
Yeah, of course.
This thing is super clean. Check the cage, the half cage at the back.
What the thing is it?
See, for us, these are so new that we haven't actually seen anybody modify one in Ireland or the UK to this level. They're kind of wheels, maybe a bit of carbon, that kind of thing. But this is like another level.
I was going to say, by the cage and the seat, there's no giveaway, but the massive NOS bottle in the back is a bit of a giveaway.
Yeah.
And the fuel tank.
It's actually an icebox.
Oh, an icebox. That's actually, we saw this in another build we saw recently that put an icebox in the back.
Yep.
So basically just to keep the temperatures down if you're drag racing, which is crazy. This is a beautiful car. Yeah. 3 casual Mark IVs that we just didn't even see it.
Yeah, exactly. So this one makes, it's 1,080. It has a 6R80 trans in it from the Mustang. So there's a full 6R80 conversion. This one made just under 1,400 horsepower on boost only. It's a original 6-speed car, and that one is essentially an old SEMA car. So it's a full Grady body kit with like
the Fast and the Furious spec, right?
Yeah, essentially Fast and Furious spec. It has like the full audio system in the rear and all that stuff. So yeah, very early 2000s for sure. But still timeless nonetheless. So
I think that, you know what's funny, they went from like, they were super cool, they went uncool, and then they came back to cool again, all in the one look.
Every JDM car is cool now. They're all worth a crazy amount of money. Even like, you know, your normal S chassis are $10,000 to $15,000 for a halfway decent one.
Well, first of all, we've never seen one of these.
Yeah, so this is one of our pro cars. This is actually a VW boxer motor in it. So it's a billet flat 4.
And how much horsepower, if I ask?
I think it makes 1,900.
1,900 off a flat 4.
This looks like a quite stock GTR, but no stock GTR has a parachute on the back of it.
So it's actually getting converted back to stock.
Really?
Yeah, so it did make 1,800 horsepower when it was a full drag car. It was one of our kind of like show and display cars, you know, paint match the Copper Supra, paint match the other Supra, kind of to have like a theme to bring out and go to events and stuff like that. It was built for half mile. I think it ran like a 220 and a half mile. But essentially, he's converting it back to stock, and he's, well, stock-ish. It's gonna make like 800 horsepower when it's done, and he's gonna sell the car. He wants to get into something a little bit different, a little bit more modern. The GTR is a great platform, but it is a very expensive platform to kind of maintain. So it's better to get out of it while you can, and get something a little bit more cost-effective. Kind of wants to get an R8 himself, so, and do a full R8 built trans and all that stuff. So.
I'll just direct your attention to this C6. So I drift a C6 Pro car, and this just fascinates me because we just built one from scratch in the last year.
Yeah.
And this one looks super clean, but it's essentially a drag car.
Essentially, yeah.
This one has a splitter, Dave.
It's a carbon splitter. I'd have that broken in 10 minutes. And carbon side skirts. So, yeah. This looks really nice and black though, doesn't it?
Very nice. I definitely have the feeling again this is going to be
this
far
is
from
going to make my
stock.
setup look quite tame.
Wow. Okay.
It's a twin turbo. Is it an LS3?
It's an LSX, I think.
LSX.
Yeah. So this one was built by, the motor was built by, I think, LMP, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a full twin turbo setup. This one made, it was like 1250 on boost. So we had some dyno issues. It was spinning on the dyno, so probably would make a little bit more.
My
But
drift car makes 610, and I think it's pretty quick. You guys are just, that's like stock stuff
and
to you.
this one's a street car, so this is like the street car tire setup on it right now. So it's on a Carlisle 15-inch conversion in the rear. And then it's on like a 17x5 front, but it has the Weld Sportsman front runner, so you can drive it on the street, DOT approved and all that stuff. So
1200 horsepower on the street.
yeah. You'd be surprised what you see on the street in Florida.
Do you guys just feel like things are numb to you now? That it's like,
after working here for a few years, it does get numb. It was super exciting when I first started working here, but like now that you see Supras, you start to critique them a little bit more, and you start to really look at them. You do get numb to seeing like the MK4 and MK5.
well, the way you drop over 1,000 horsepower figures is very, very numb to you, I'd imagine.
1,000 horsepower is a new 500 nowadays. So
You heard it here first. This is amazing. Well, listen, thank you so much for showing us around. We really, really appreciate it. So we'll leave it with, 1,000 is the new 500 here at Titan Motorsports. What an amazing shop, amazing tour. So many new and old Supras. Should we get a new Supra on the Drift Games channel? Leave the comment below. Should we get a new Supra? I'm thinking maybe a Mustang, new Supra. Should I keep the Cayman GTS I have? I'm having to think while I'm over here, maybe switching things up. So let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, obviously, hit up our shop for all of our merch. And we'll see you guys on the next one.